because everyone, if you are watching this show, you know for a fact that today is Sunday, October 4th, 2020, and that means it's time. It's time for the latest Comedy is Calling show. Comedy is Calling. Are you ready to answer that call? I hope so. I really hope so, because if you're not, you are going to be missing out on a wonderful comedy show. It is my pleasure to host this show. I host it on the first and third Sunday of every month and the second Friday of every month. And I'm always so pleased to do it because I have a great time and I think you're going to have a good time. We have some great stand-up comedians coming to the show. We have a wonderful improv group, Neon Salami, that you're going to see later in the show. We would like to thank our show partner, our co-show producer, typically would be our show host if we were having in-person comedy shows, Capital Cider House. We love Capital Cider House. We miss them so much. Capital Cider House, if you hear us, we just miss you. We miss you so much. More on that later. But everyone, we are having a good time. We are rocking and rolling. We are moving right along. I'm your host, Stacey Axler, and I'm also going to be doing some stand-up for you right now. So we're going to kick the show off with some stand-up by me, Stacey Axler. All right, here we go, everyone. Here are my thoughts. I've been having a lot of sleep problems lately. Who else has been having some sleep issues? Okay, almost everyone that's on, all of the comedians made some type of head nod or something that let me know that they're having sleep issues. So I think that you probably are too. You want to know something that's, in my opinion, even worse than having a nightmare or a bad dream or anything of that sort? When you wear socks to bed and one of your socks slips off in the middle of the night and then you wake up and you know it happened because your foot is cold and you're like, oh no, my sock is gone. But in the night, you can't find your sock. It's like, it's just too daunting to find your sock. I really hate those days, everyone. It almost makes me not want to wear socks to bed, but then my feet would be perpetually cold. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. I have weird sleep patterns. When I was a teenager, I used to comfort myself with this because some of the greatest minds of the past 200 years also had weird sleep patterns, like Nikola Tesla. So when I was a teenager, I used to be obsessed with Nikola Tesla, who, if you have seen the movie The Prestige, he was played by David Bowie. So that should give you all you need to know about Nikola Tesla. He was a very intriguing guy. He had a lot of weird ideas. And when I was a teenager, I used to think that was cool because I was kind of a unique child. I was a little zany, if you will. So I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I'm just like Nikola Tesla. And then as an adult, when you can really look into your life, you can say, no, I'm not like Nikola Tesla, and I actually don't know anyone who is. So Nikola Tesla never married. He didn't do it. He was against feminism, so not a fan of Nikola Tesla in that regard. But there was this point in his life for about 10 years, and you can look this up, this is absolutely true, that Nikola Tesla was in love with a bird. So this is a true thing about Nikola Tesla. He lived in a hotel for like the last 20, 30 years of his life, and he started leaving crumbs of his food on his windowsill. And this was in New York, and all of these different birds would start eating the crumbs. And this white dove kept coming back every day, and he wrote articles about how much he loved this bird and how he just thought so fondly of this bird. It's one of the most romantic things I've ever read. So is it weird? Yes. But is it romantic? I have to say kind of, yeah. I would look it up. If you think romance is dead, no, look it up. Look it up. Nikola Tesla also hated Thomas Edison, which I understand because I don't like him either. I think Thomas Edison, though, yes, he did create the light bulb, he also was a thief. And when Thomas Edison died, Nikola Tesla wrote this scathing article basically saying Thomas Edison never had an original idea in his life. It's heated. Everyone read it. If you want some entertainment, read it. Oh my gosh. So, you may have noticed there's a clock here on my wall. That's wrong. I always set the clock 15 minutes ahead because in the past, I wanted to get to where I was going on time. So when I saw the clock, sometimes I'd be like, oh my God, it's already this time, I've got to go. And it would give me the jump start I needed to really get me into the day. And, you know, with everything going on with COVID, you know, I'm not really going anywhere. So you might be thinking you could just set the clocks to normal time. Well, maybe I could, but there's a lot I could be doing for myself now that I'm not doing. For example, am I wearing pajamas right now? You don't know. I could be. I very much could be because I'm in my own house. I could be wearing the clothes I sleep in. And I really want you to think about this for the rest of the show. Am I wearing the clothes I sleep in? It will be a little secret. Only I know. I made a pact with myself when the year started, and I said that I wasn't going to gossip as much. Not that I consider myself the biggest gossip that ever lived, but I just wanted to stop the gossip. So I am happy to say that I have succeeded. I'm not gossiping as much, and that's because I'm just not socializing. I'm not seeing people. I don't know where the people are. You know, in Little Mermaid when she's like, I want to be where the people are. I'm like, I hear you. I finally hear you, Ariel. I do too. Like, I don't know where they are. They're definitely not in here. I never liked that movie until now, and I'm like, she's making a lot of sense. She is making sense. Oh my gosh. The other day, actually this was earlier today, I've just wrote this down. I'm always struggling with, should I complain about this? That's the latest question that's always in my brain. Should I complain about this? Okay, so I got Uber Eats today, like a few hours ago, from Potbelly, which makes sandwiches, if you didn't know. I prefer Potbelly to Jimmy John's because the owner of Jimmy John's and this is not slander. He hunts animals. He's not a good guy. Like, and big animals like elephants look it up. This is a real thing. So I prefer Potbelly because the owner doesn't do that. Anyway, so one thing that Potbelly does is for $1, you can get a whole pickle. So here's what I like. I like getting the whole pickle because then I can save it throughout the day. It's like an incentive. Like, if I can get to 5 p.m. today, I'm going to get a little bit of pickle. And I can, like, portion it out throughout the day. Well, when I picked up my Uber Eats and I brought it home, they didn't put in the pickle. And it's like, listen, this is not a big deal. This is not a big deal. But at the same time, I'm living for the pickle now, guys. Like, my Uber Eats is like one of my bright spots in my day. When I get my Uber Eats and I'm like, what is it going to look like when I unpack it from the box? So I was like, should I complain about this? And I was like, I don't want anyone to get in trouble. But also, I did pay for a pickle. But also, it's only $1. So maybe I should. At the end, I decided I needed to complain about it. So, but that's my whole day. My whole day is literally just, should I complain about this? And you can apply that maybe to your own life. So something for you to take home with you. But at this time, I've been Stacey Axler. You've been a wonderful crowd, I imagine. I don't know where you are, but I think you are a good crowd. And thank you so much for tuning into Comedy is Calling. We are about to welcome our next stand-up comedian coming to the forefront of the Zoom. A very, very funny guy. Please make some noise for Jason Fliegle, everyone.
Ooh.
Hey, thanks, Stacey. Ooh, thanks everyone out there watching. Boy, it's been a week. My neighbor actually just got diagnosed with COVID, which is crazy. But I don't really like him, so it's okay. Um, no, like nobody deserves COVID. Let me make that clear. But he kind of brought it on himself. He never wears a mask when he goes out. He goes out all the time without a mask. And last weekend he had a big party, had a bunch of people over to his house to announce his Supreme Court pick. So I don't know. That's life in DC. It actually, speaking of COVID, I was telling Stacey before the show, I saw an article that listed 172 COVID symptoms, which is like for a hypochondriac like me, 172, like everything's a symptom now. Like, if you're having too much trouble breathing or not having enough trouble breathing or having the right amount of trouble breathing, those are all symptoms. My favorite symptom on the list, which I don't have, thank God, or I'd be worried. It said one of the symptoms is excessive rectal bleeding. And I just want to know, what is a non-excessive amount of rectal bleeding? Because to me, like any rectal bleeding is just too much rectal bleeding for me. And like I worry about my health. I'm getting older. I just turned 40 in July of 2014, which I'm Generation X. And here's the thing about like being Generation X. Like we didn't change the world. We know it. Like all you millennials and Gen Z, you're looking at us with disgust. And I hear you. I don't have I can't justify it, but there's a reason we didn't change the world. And that reason is because we didn't have the Cartoon Network when we were growing up. And no, like I'm serious. Like when we were growing up, it was like, oh, you want to watch a cartoon on a Tuesday at 5. Who the hell do you think you are? You watch cartoons on Saturday mornings and you like it that way. And so, like, we learned to take what we were given. And what we were given, by the way, were some really weird cartoons. I don't know if you've ever seen cartoons from the 80s, but they would make a cartoon out of anything. Like Pac-Man had a cartoon. There was a cartoon with a magic Rubik's Cube. The Manson family, I think they had a cartoon. Just everyone got a cartoon. And you don't question it when you're a kid. Like you don't know about all the drugs they're doing out in Hollywood. You just accept it. Like, oh, they're showing me a cartoon about a kid who turns into a car and solves mysteries. Why not? That's a thing. All the cartoons in the 80s, by the way, they involved solving mysteries. Like when you were a kid in the 80s, you just assumed when you grew up there were going to be tons of mysteries to solve. Like as an adult, I'm still perplexed every day that I go out and I don't meet like a guy pretending to be a ghost so he can steal the land that the old amusement park sits on. It just never comes up in real life though. Yeah, they even they gave Mr. T a cartoon in the 80s. That's how many cartoons there were. You guys remember Mr. T? He was like the actor, tough guy, wrestler. So of course, in his cartoon, they make him a gymnastics coach. It doesn't make any sense now, but when you're a kid, it's like, oh, why wouldn't Mr. T drive around with a van full of teenage gymnasts solving mysteries? It just, nothing sketchy about that. But yeah, I love all those crazy 80s cartoons. There's one 80s cartoon I hated though. Muppet Babies. You're all with me, right? All right. Some of you are not with me. Let me explain where I'm coming from. The Muppet Babies was a cartoon about the Muppets when they were babies. They didn't do subtlety in cartoon titles back then. But see, in this show, you've got like all the Muppets living together as little tiny babies in a nursery solving mysteries. And that was fake news, total fake news. Because here's the thing. Have you guys ever seen the Muppet movie? Like the original one where Kermit sings It's Not Easy Being Green and then goes off to Hollywood? In that movie, he meets all the other Muppets and they're all adults and he's meeting them for the first time. There were no Muppet babies. That's not how it worked. That I don't like that fake news Muppet baby. Also on the Muppet Babies, it was like a bunch of the baby versions of a bunch of male Muppets and Miss Piggy, which makes it like the world's most ironic sausage fest. And so someone at the network, I guess, decided like we need more women. So they invented another female Muppet named Skeeter, but she was not like on the real Muppets. And yes, I do call them the real Muppets. Don't judge me. But like that raised so many questions. Like what happened to Skeeter between the Muppet Babies and the Muppet Show? Was like, is there some tragedy they never speak about? Is that what's going on? That is the real mystery that needs to be solved in that cartoon. Yeah, and I don't know why there were so many mysteries in cartoons, quite frankly. Because if you look at like your classic cartoons, there are no mysteries. Like other than Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is a classic, had mysteries. None of the rest had mysteries. Like Popeye never had to solve the mystery of the missing spinach, right? Fred Flintstone never had to deal with like, oh no, someone is breaking into people's houses and stealing their appliances, which is technically pet napping and not theft if you're going to charge it as a crime. You know, like Bugs Bunny was never like, oh, we have to figure out who painted the All Lives Matter graffiti on the side of the building. Right? We all know it was Yosemite Sam. There's no mystery. It's yeah. I for someone who's in his 40s, I spend way too much time talking about cartoons. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and I described Winnie. We were talking about Winnie the Pooh. Why are two adults talking about Winnie the Pooh? Because it's a pandemic, right? I don't know. Somehow that makes it worthwhile or justified. But I described Winnie the Pooh as a pantsless bear who loves honey, which is like an accurate description of Winnie the Pooh, but it's also an accurate description of every bear, right? If you look at the way Winnie the Pooh dresses, like the lack of pants are not the weird part. The little red crop top is the weird part, right? That's what makes Winnie the Pooh unique. Like, if you ever hear about someone being mauled by a bear, the park ranger never says, like, be on the lookout for a 6'5", 600-pound bear in a blue Adidas hoodie. Like, that's not a thing that the park ranger says. Park ranger will tell you, though, if it's a black bear, though, because, you know, he's still a cop, right? But anyway, as I was saying, I'm in my 40s. I've gotten to the point where my health is like, I don't know. It's your body starts falling apart when you get to a certain age. Like if you don't believe me, find anyone who's like my age, middle-aged, and ask them about the last time they threw their back out. They will have a story to tell you, and that story is going to end right when you think it's getting started, right? You'll be like, oh man, you threw your back out. How'd that happen? And they'll go, well, I got home from work and I took my coat off. and I was in bed for 3 days. I don't know, man. It was the worst. That's what being middle-aged is like. I actually, I sprained my ankle the other day. I was playing football. By which I mean I was checking my fantasy lineup on my phone, and but it still counts as a football injury. And now I feel like I have one of those ankles that's going to let me predict the weather. I'm going to be like, you know, watching the news, and they're going to go, you know, oh, clear skies all week, and I'll be like, oh, that's not what the old ankle says. We're getting 3 to 5 inches of snow. Um, that's the story of getting older, I guess. And I'm not a senior citizen or anything. Like, I haven't reached the point where I'm walking around with a pocket full of Werther's Original candy, right? Side note, Werther's Originals, if you're watching, you don't need to specify originals. Your candy's not that good. There's nobody out here trying to counterfeit it. You can just say Werther's. We'll all know. You're not Godiva. Get over yourself. But I'm not walking around with a pocket full of hard candy. I'm not at that age. But I'm not young either. And I realized that earlier today. I went to the liquor store to buy myself a 6-pack of beer. And I went to show the guy at the checkout guy. I went to show him my ID. He just looked at me. He didn't take the ID. He looked at me. He said, "Nah, you're cool, Pops." What the hell? He called me Pops. Oh, I was going to kick his ass too, but when I went to get my ID out of my wallet, I threw my back out. So, all right, that's been my time. I'm Jason Fliegle. Let's give it up for your host, Stacey Axler.
Oh my gosh. Keep it going for Jason Fliegle, everyone. All right, up next, I'm excited to welcome our next stand-up comedian coming to the forefront of this Zoom. Very, very funny guy, so please make some noise for Mark Palchick.
Woo! So, Jason, I got one question that's really troubling me. Mighty Mouse or Rough and Ready?
Mighty Mouse.
I hate you. I'm sorry. We cannot be friends. Thank you very much for having me. I'm Mark Palchick. I am a 70-year-old stand-up comedian. But look, you don't need to call the paramedics. I am perfectly capable of standing up by myself and telling jokes. I mean, after all, I am younger than both of the presidential candidates. I love living in D.C. I really do. But it's gotten so expensive. You would not believe what it costs these days to buy a politician. And they're just not worth it. You know, DC has a politician that tweeted, "The Jews control the weather." The Jews, really? We haven't been able to control the weather since we left Egypt the first time. And besides which, if we really had that superpower, you know we'd keep Manhattan warm. Thing is, 70 is a delicate age. I know that Jason's struggling with his upper 40s, but you know, I'm 70. I'm too old for clubbing, way too old for clubbing, but I'm also too young to be aged cheddar cheese. My 7 decades on this blue marble have taught me that as people age, their preferences change. A young man of 22 dreams of having a mistress that's young and sexy and will dress up like a nurse. An old man of 92 dreams of having a mistress that's an actual nurse. The young man hopes his mistress will blow his socks off. The old man hopes his mistress will just be able to get his socks back on. So the baseball is in playoffs. What an amazing season. I mean, can you believe it? Every single day, everyone had their temperature taken. Every other day, they got tested for COVID. And if they tested positive, why, they isolated. Wow. Oh, I got to tell you, I really miss the good old days. You know, like 2019, when it was a good thing to have an infectious laugh. Fact is, this last year has been so crazy. You know, I go days and I have no idea what day it is. On Monday, I got up, I got dressed for church, and then I remembered I don't go to church on Monday morning. I don't go to church at all. I'm Jewish. But actually, you know, this last year has been really good for my adult kids Normally, before times, they had to think up great reasons for why we couldn't come visit. Now, the pandemic, whoa, Mom, Dad, we'd really like you to come. We'd really like to see you, but we got to socially distance. It's for your health. For our health? What are you talking about? You live in the basement. Can't we come downstairs? And this quarantine is really aging me. Last night, I caught myself watching a Hallmark movie and liking it. Oh, God, what's next? Metamucil cocktails? I will tell you that I've been watching the news about the protests. And, they've really stepped up their game since I marched in the 60s. Do you know they got medics? They got videographers? They've got advertisers. Today's protest is brought to you by Taco Bell, because why should the police be the only ones with gas? Hey, the thing about the protests, it really identifies that we have a long way to go in this society. I mean, we are still a really ageist society. Look, just because I'm 70 does not mean that I'm old. Age is an attitude, not a number. Well, that is, unless you've been pushed off that gray cliff, lost your job because of your age, in which case it's a short tumble, lose your job, lose your home. Before you know it, you are sitting in death's lobby. Florida. Here's the deal. You are not old unless on the subway, pregnant women give you their seats. You are not old unless your side piece is a night nurse. And you are not old unless your best pickup line, your only pickup line is help. I've fallen and I can't get up. And I'm not old. I walk my dog every day, twice a day, for 2 hours. Well, all right. It should only be an hour and a half, but that dog stops every 10 minutes so I can pee. Hey, did you watch the debates Tuesday? Wow. I think it's so unfair that Chris Wallace did not let our president talk about all of his great achievements. For instance, he's probably the greatest environmentalist America's ever had. With all his super spreader events, he is killing so many Americans that it's lowered our carbon footprint. That great environmentalist Greta, how many people has she gotten rid of? Global warming, fixed. Social Security, Medicare are nearly bankrupt because people like me refuse to die. Sorry, well, not really. With all the deaths in the nursing homes, that's going to be fixed. Social Security, Medicare, fixed. Well, the president has a 100% veracity rating. He never tells the truth. Need to vote, fixed. And immigration. Haven't you been listening? Who'd want to live here now? Plus, he got Mexico to build the wall. I've been Mark Palchick. Thank you very much.
All right, keep it going for Mark Palchick, everyone. Okay, up next, very excited to welcome our next stand-up comedian coming to the forefront of this Zoom. Please make some noise for the very funny Cy D, everyone.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Capital Cider House. So I guess, I'll just start with the news, right? Like Trump and COVID, that's it's big news. Look, it's not going to be that much of a cause for concern because we all know Trump is going to receive the best care. Like they're going to pull out all the stops. Like he's probably getting right now as we speak, he's probably getting an IV of bleach. All the HCQ he needs, all the hydroxychloroquine he needs, And of course, there's always all these doctors taking care of him and, telling him what he wants to hear, downplaying the threat of his symptoms, right? That's okay. Went too far, I guess. No, look, there is probably something to be worried about. The most worrisome sign for Trump is that he is in a high-risk group, and that is the most worrisome sign for Trump is the death rate in his tax bracket. Yeah, COVID hasn't been kind to people paying $750 in taxes, all right? Especially those living in public housing. That's no, man, look, and jokes aside, this guy's had a tough week. And really, I mean, I don't want to be joking about this. So this guy's had a really, really tough week with the debate and all that. So here's me sending all my thoughts and prayers to Chris Wallace. Get tested, man. I know what's coming, all right? No, look, I heard the news and I was like, wow, Trump tested positive, and like, oh man, after all these that we've been through in the last few years, we're going to have our first woman president. And it's going to be Mike Pence's wife. Wow, who would have thought that? That's quite a turn of events, right? That's crazy. So Jason was talking about cartoons he liked as a kid. No segues. I'm sorry. No, so that just took me back to one of my favorite TV shows as growing up as a kid, which was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the animated version. Yeah, I mean, it was either that or Small Wonder. I had no choices. I was in India. No, and I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I loved it so much. I watched every episode, at least for a year. In fact, exactly for a year. And then after that, I stopped because the Indian government mandated that all TV shows for kids should be dubbed into Hindi, right? And you know what? I was okay with mutant biped turtles living in the sewers of New York City with their rat master sensei fighting crime using martial arts. But I drew the line at them being able to speak Hindi. I was like, nah, this has gone too far. This is not realistic. And I struggle to defend that thought process even now. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's just weird. And it's like, yeah. Yeah, it is election season. It's also election forecast season. And I'm a statistician. And as a statistician, I would like to give you some advice, which is that even if most election forecasts indicate a greater than 99% chance of Biden winning the election, do not take it for granted. Please go out and mail in your Canadian permanent residency application. We all saw what happened last time, right? That's what I'm getting at. And this, people asked me last time too, like people who knew I was a statistician, they asked me like, Sai, what happened? You guys are like, you guys are like great statisticians and everything. You predicted, like Nate Silver is out there predicting all these things. And how can you get so wrong? How can you get it so goddamn wrong? And look, and I say the same thing, look, as statisticians, everyone did the right thing. They all did everything correctly. Like they looked at the polls, they looked at what people said, noted it down, and then made the predictions. There's just one thing we completely forgot. And that is that racist white people are damn good liars. Like we should have known that. We should have known that coming from history. I don't know, man. The election is interesting this year. Mark was talking about his youth that he's in right now compared to the presidential candidates. And look, that's one common criticism about Joe Biden, right? Like he's 78. How much more longer can he go for? Like he's washed up. And I completely don't buy that criticism because he's only 78, which means next year he's going to be in his prime. Yeah, guys, prime number joke. I'm a statistician. Did I tell you that? No, man, I was just thinking about the whole White House coronavirus party thing. And it's just weird, right? Like, why would you do that? Like, that's it's crazy. You can't have a super spreader event without wearing masks and stuff. And but that's not surprising too, because the White House's stance on this whole thing is that the science should not stand in the way of this. Right? Remember that statement that the White House press secretary made when someone asked her about the policy of asking schools to reopen and what's the science behind that? And she said, quote unquote, the science should not stand in the way of this. Like, the science should not stand in the way of this? The science should not stand in the way of this is what every millennial and Zoomer kid tells themselves before diving in to eat some ass, right? That's ludicrous. Like, the science should not stand in the way of this is what I tell myself when deciding how much wheat to put in my wheat brownies. The science should not stand in the way of this is the motto that Evel Knievel lived and almost died 1,000,000 times by. Like, what? Man, it was about time that I caught up with them. Anyways, I was talking about applying for a Canadian permanent residency, but I recently applied for my American permanent residency for my green card. Thank you. You guys are very appreciative. That's exactly what I was hoping to hear. No, man, look, I think I really want to be American. You know, I too one day want to achieve the American dream of having ice on speed dial. No, until then, I'm staying the fuck away from ice. I don't even drink ice water. Look, and you know, this is live on Facebook, and those of you watching right now, I just want to reassure you, I don't want you to go out there and reach for your phones immediately. I want to reassure you that I'm not surreptitiously a Salvadorian street gang member, all right? Like, I'm not MS-13, I'm more MSXL. Like, I'm not a street thug, I'm more a spreadsheet thug. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do drive-bys, but I do really good divide-bys. You know, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. What else is going on, guys? I am in quarantine with my partner. So I guess I'm not in quarantine. I'm in quarantine. We got a fight appointment at 8:30, so I've got to wrap this up quick. No, so look, what was it going to get at? So I've been trying to make myself busy. I mean, keep myself busy in quarantine, trying to do a lot of things. I started learning Mandarin Chinese because I'm a realist. No, really. So look, I'm just trying to get educated in the Chinese ways so that when the Chinese come here, I'll be ready to get re-educated, right? That's... I knew that wouldn't go well in a Zoom call, but I was eager to tell it anyways. I know, right? It's a stretch. No, man, look, the real reason I'm learning Mandarin Chinese is my partner is Chinese American, and you know, I want to be able to communicate with her relatives and everyone. You know, like I want to be able to talk to them, especially her 4-year-old nephew. I want to be able to talk to him. I want to be able to, you know, play with him and teach him things he should know. I want to teach him things he should know, like how all of Kashmir belongs to India. About time someone told him that. He's old enough to hear that. All right, that's what I'm saying. What else is going on, guys? It was my birthday last weekend. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Stacey. Yeah, so and I look, I'm not a guy who like gets presents for himself or anything, but like 2 days before my birthday, I really wasn't going to get myself anything, but I was on Amazon 2 days before my birthday looking for some kitchen and bathroom caulk to reseal my sink, and as I was checking it out, Amazon was like, this order contains a gift. I was like, sure, yeah, why not? Yeah, kitchen and bathroom caulk. That's like a gift that will cheer you up, right? Yeah, so that's my advice to everyone. If you run out of gift ideas, just buy yourself some kitchen and bathroom caulk. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Capital Cider House.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Cy, and happy birthday! It was
Thanks.
Cy's
Happy
birthday,
birthday.
everyone. That was Cy
Thank
D,
you.
everyone. We are moving right along. We are actually going to introduce the headliner of the stand-up portion of this show. She's hysterical, so funny, so please give a great big round of applause to Lauren Smith, everyone.
Thank you, guys. So welcome to my bedroom. Yeah, in the before time, it used to take 3 dates for y'all to get here. And that is how you know that I am Gen X, not a millennial, if the wrinkles didn't give it away. Yeah, I am 51 years old. Big number, right? Well, not yet. I'm 50. I'm about to be 51. Like Si, my birthday's coming up. And it is different than I thought. I thought I'd be more mature. And I still don't understand Mahjong. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mahjong is a game that involves arranging heavy tiles covered with ornate pictures. It came from China, but for some reason is mainly played by old Jewish grandmothers. Yeah, it's like the solid version of Chinese food for Christmas. No one knows why, but if you're Jewish, it's just what you do. Cultural appropriation is part of our culture. Now, Jewish people my age remember our grandmas sitting around a table with their friends and the tiles, the Yiddish, and the Manischewitz flowing. For everybody but Jason who doesn't know, and maybe Mark, Yiddish was Jewish German that no one understands anymore. Manischewitz is Jewish White Claw. It's still in use, especially in youth groups, and has an inverse relationship with Jewish virginity. I told ya, Jewish White Claw, or Jewish Zima if you're Gen X like me. Anyway, I thought somewhere in my late 40s, I would wake up on the morning of my birthday and there'd be this hot, shirtless genie there. I clearly can't keep my Eastern and Middle Eastern cultural appropriation straight. And I thought he would have a glowing package of Mahjong tiles, of course. And he would say, "Now you have reached the age of tiles." And they would all come flying out and the drawings would come to life and become stories. And from those stories, I would understand how to play Mahjong. That'd be cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hasn't happened. 50s are so disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I thought I would have money by now, and I don't. I thought someone would love me by now. That hasn't happened either. But on the plus side, oh, thank you, Stacey. On the plus side, I thought I would be so much uglier by now. See, when I was growing up, the only woman over the age of 25 on TV was on this show called Three's Company. Are we familiar, guys? Yeah, Mrs. Roper. So I thought I would have a full-on muumuu and helmet hair by now, and I don't, which is good. I also thought I'd have a Mr. Roper by now, and I don't. And if you've seen the show, you know that is good too. Because the last thing my self-esteem needs is some wormy little guy in a Hawaiian shirt who'd rather spy on a 20-year-old bimbo than be with me. Especially since I now have a 17-year-old daughter. Yeah, that can get creepy. So single is not so bad. But the 17-year-old daughter, on the other hand, see, people say that when your children become teenagers, they are taken over by Satan. And if you have never heard that, you clearly don't have any friends with teenage children. But that is not true. Children are gifts from God. All children are gifts from God. It's just a matter of which God. You know, mighty, smighty Old Testament God that sends the plagues and the locusts? Yeah, he sends the teenagers too. Well, him or Shiva. All right, that was for me. Okay, thank you, Sai. I was like, at least Sai should laugh at that one. All right. Yeah. It's bad. 17 is a weird age, especially since my daughter has developed a penis. Yeah. 2020 is real. See, here's how this will go. I will make appropriate parent noises like, sweetie, don't you think you should do your homework, clean your room, find mom a second husband on Bumble? And she will say, Mom, get off my dick. And she's a teenage girl, so she hates her friends. Like Laura. What was the name of the girl you hated in high school?
Ashley.
Ashley. There's always an Ashley. My daughter's is named Jenna, spelled Gennah, of course. Yeah, they don't name kids normal stuff like Ashley anymore. So I will also hear, Jenna can suck my dick. Now, at this point, some of you are thinking that I am a terrible parent. Here's the thing, though. I have a 17-year-old daughter who really does not know how the real ones work. Now, at this point in my set, I need a brave straight male volunteer. Anybody willing? Jason, I knew I could count on you. So, Jason, you look like you might have a penis, do you?
I do, but you can't assume these days. So good for asking.
Yeah. And, Jason, has anyone ever sucked on that penis of yours?
Yes.
Yes. Very definitively cheerful face on that. And were you the least little bit angry about it?
Not at all.
Not at all. And one more question. You've never let your mother onto that penis of yours?
No, never.
No, never. So it is safe for us all to assume that Jason has never said, Mom, get off my dick. So can we all agree that my 17-year-old daughter does not speak dick yet? Clap if you agree. Thank you, thank you. You are very reassuring. But here's the thing, guys. I wrote that joke a while ago. And at the time, I was totally on board with it. But my daughter is turning 18 now. So I'm kind of like, I mean, I still don't want her to get pregnant, but I probably would not be freaked out by finding the Rosetta Stone for hand jobs in her room. So I am thinking that maybe I need to send her to youth group with some Manischewitz. I'm in Lauren Smith. That's my time.
Oh my gosh, keep it going for your headliner, Lauren Smith, everyone. Guess what, everyone? The stand-up portion of this show has ended, but we still got the improv portion. So at this time, I am going to pass the Zoom over to our improv group, the very funny Neon Salami.
Woo!
Yay, Neon Salami. Woo, that's us. Hey, I'm going to ask anyone who is not a part of Neon Salami to turn your camera off. Leave your mic on so we can hear you laughing and so forth. And hopefully, Stacey, are we in grid view on the?
You are.
Awesome. So hello out there, Facebook people. We are Neon Salami. Hi. We are going to improvise for you. How are my fellow Neon Salami people doing tonight? Let me start by asking that.
Good. You know what I almost did this evening is started watching a new Netflix documentary about a murder, naturally.
A murder? Yeah, they do a lot of documentaries about murders. I saw they're doing one. My girlfriend is very excited to watch this one on Hulu about some murder that happened like 50 years ago. And they just made a new documentary about it. So, because like we don't have enough current murders to solve, we got to go back and look at the old ones. So,
you know, I was sitting here thinking about like what corny joke can I open with? What kind of a dad joke can I open with? And the only one that I could settle on was, you know, something along the lines of, I've been feeling a lot of intestinal distress lately. And somebody says, oh yeah, really? It's like, yeah, if I were an Egyptian pharaoh, my name would be King Tut.
that is terrible.
Right?
That is.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
So
my time, folks. That's my time.
My big takeaway is don't ask Javi how he's doing.
I will be incredibly honest.
Yeah, no, it's
probably more honest than you want me to be.
That's well, I hope your stomach feels better. Yeah, and with that, Scott, anything to add?
Look, I'm just wondering, is the murder mystery about JFK? And 50 years ago, I mean, just about, it adds up. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's maybe. No, it's about I forget his name, but he's the Navy SEAL who like claims that hippies broke in and murdered his wife and kids, but the prosecutors and the jury claim that he murdered his wife and kids. So he's been in jail since, you know, like 1980 something.
What a funny story. The one that I was about to watch was about a man who killed his wife and children, but only like 2 years ago.
Hilarious.
We men do that more than we should. It's like the amount we should be murdering our wife and kids is 0. And the amount we do murder our wife and kids is more than 0. So it's not good. On that cheerful note, let's present a documentary that probably won't be about murdering a wife and kids, although it's all improvised. We're gonna make it up as we go.
I have a feeling we're gonna run into that somehow. Always when we try to like stay away from something, we just like run our way into it.
That's the first rule of improv. People think it's yes and it's actually whatever you're trying not to go to, you're gonna wind up there.
So somebody's going down tonight. That's all I know. Just who's it gonna be?
Yeah. But we are going to completely improvise, made up on the spot, a documentary. And to prove that it's made up on the spot, we are going to base it off an audience suggestion. I was thinking it is now October, getting close to Halloween. Maybe if someone wants to shout out like their favorite Halloween costume they ever wore.
Oh, I have one. Okay, so for years actually, when I was a kid, like from I think 6 to 10, I was a vampire every single year because I was just so obsessed with it.
Vampire, nice. Which is ironic because vampires are supposed to be ageless, but you grew up.
Stacey, where did you grow up?
I actually grew up very close by to where I live now. I grew up in Gaithersburg, Maryland.
Woo! So did I.
What? Jason? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We'll talk about Lake Forest Mall offline, but
yes.
We'll get back to the improv for now. All right, vampire.
So, and Lauren also put in the chat, her outfit that she did for many years for Halloween was Catholic schoolgirl for years, but I thought that might be a little disturbing. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have read that out loud. Oh well. Ooh, yeah, Javi, you were Michael Jackson. That makes total sense.
What? How many times have we been Little Michael? When's the last time? I haven't heard Michael Jackson's voice in a while, so it's gonna be hard for me. But
Yeah.
anyways.
All right, so what are we presenting a documentary on here?
We are going to present a documentary about the time Michael Jackson decided to open an Italian restaurant and the Catholic schoolgirl who came for the garlic bread. All right, let me just say, I've always loved pasta, and I always wanted to serve pasta to people. And so I thought this is my true calling. Forget about music, forget about dance. I am going to open a pasta restaurant. I'm going to open a restaurant and make the people happy. Jimon, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be great. People are going to beat it all the way to my restaurant. That's what's going to happen. And so I opened my restaurant.
You know, the piano man here, I decided, you know, since we were icons of the 80s, I was going to go down and support my friend Michael when he opened his Italian restaurant. It was really an inspiration to me. I thought a bottle of red, a bottle of white. How could we go wrong? So I never realized that Michael has no idea how to cook. Like, literally, the man served me raw spaghetti with a tomato on top. Makes no sense.
Now, as the mayor of Gaithersburg, I just want to tell you that when Michael Jackson came to town and opened up his Italian restaurant, we all thought this would be great for economic development. But it wasn't too long before stories began cropping up in the news that small children were going in and being fed raw pasta. And so as the mayor of Gaithersburg, I felt like something has got to be done about this, because this is very disturbing and it's really interrupting my chances of being reelected.
Hi, I'm Claire. I went to this new pasta restaurant. I was very excited for it. I love Michael Jackson. And you know, there's all those news stories back in the day about how they're giving us uncooked pasta, but I must say I asked for it because what they didn't know was I was also a vampire and I couldn't handle the garlic bread or the garlic salt. I just wanted the straight pasta straight into me. That's all I wanted. But then there's all the news, all the stuff with the mayor, all the drama. I just couldn't handle it. I just wanted my pasta and then to do well at my Catholic school and not to get punished and burn in hell and all that.
Now, maybe they don't understand it out here in Gaithersburg, but in Hollywood, raw foods are very popular. So that's what I was trying to do when I opened Trattoria Thrilleria, which is what I called my Italian restaurant. And so we would take the raw pasta and we would, by not cooking it, you keep all the nutritional vitamins in the pasta. That was my thinking. And also, as my friend Billy Joel explained, I don't actually know how to cook. I know how to dance. I know how to, like, grab my crotch while I moonwalk, do stuff like that. I can't cook. I never did that.
You know, Michael was really lucky. He made two fantastic hires when he first started. He hired this manager. His name was Eddie, and this waitress, her name was Brenda. They were just fantastic. They kept the place afloat. I swear, the second time I went down there, I asked Michael for a glass of bourbon. He handed me a glass of milk. I mean, the guy, musical genius, everything else. Michael needed a lot of help, you know. So I called a lot of people. I said, can we get Michael some help down here? And wow, it was a tough time for everybody. But you know, us in the music scene, we didn't do a lot of eating. We did more of the drugs and the drinking. So it was what it was.
began to get even hairier around Gaithersburg, because then the sanitation and the food complaints began to come in. And so, of course, as mayor of Gaithersburg, I oversee the Department of Sanitation and Health and Food Inspection, and his Thrilleria, it failed every inspection known to man. I mean, like ones that I didn't even know. Like, he had rats as waiters. I mean, it was just like he really pushed the envelope, and I had to pause a little bit and say, well, this is what would happen if Michael Jackson ran an Italian eatery, I guess. I don't know. We had never had anything like it before, so.
Rats need jobs too. I remember when I was a kid, I made friends with a rat named Ben, and he was the best friend I ever had. So of course I'm gonna hire rats. And you know, when those health inspectors came, I just said, beat it. But they gave me a bunch of citations and tickets. They didn't beat it.
You know, these are only a few scenes from Michael Jackson's Italian restaurant, but I remember around that time, we also started getting a lot of weird ghost sightings around town. I think I was a little too drunk to really figure this out, but I decided to do a little sleuthing on my own, and what I realized was that it was really just Michael in his hat with his weird nose thing, picking garbage out of people's dumpsters. You know, I figured out he didn't really know how to place orders for bulk food, and all the food for the Italian restaurant was coming out of other people's dumpsters. Those last few years for Michael were really tough, and it was hard to see him go down like that, you know?
What a lot of people in Gaithersburg don't understand is another big movement out in California is the Fliegle movement, where you know, people throw out a lot of perfectly good food, especially perfectly good uncooked pasta. And so I was just gonna take that and use it and really bring it to the people the way they would want it. I thought the people of Gaithersburg would appreciate it, but that is not what the mayor said at all. The mayor was most unhappy with me and my restaurant. I couldn't.
Yes, it just like it got worse and worse the longer that this restaurant was around, because you know, first it was he couldn't cook at all, and he just kind of danced and charged people. And then it was the giving people raw food of all sorts, and then you know, the rats as waiters and all of that, and then there were children, a lot of children there, and there was this one little girl who just kind of hung around, and she was very pale. I mean, you could describe her as peaked, you know, like she's peaked. I think that's what it means, like when you're real pale. And she freaked me out. She really freaked me out. And I kind of felt like, as mayor, I should be impartial here, but she's like this weird little kid running around the restaurant. I think her name was Claire. But she was a troublemaker, you know, and I was hoping that I would never have to like talk to her directly. You know, like as mayor, you kind of got to talk to everybody, and I tried to avoid her, but she was just everywhere, like Michael's favorite.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That Claire kid was real creepy. I didn't like her one bit. You know, I wrote a song about her called "The Stranger." You know, she was just always whistling and just creeping around, trying to get on my fancy boat and take it to Long Island. Michael just thought the kids were great. Poor guy. He just didn't really understand how the adult world worked. But
Oh,
you know,
Billy Joel was just upset because I made him a vampire. Now he's just an ageless being, playing his piano man, just always just living on forever, okay? He's just a little upset, but he's just a little cranky about that. He'll get past it. Give it 1,000 years, he'll get past it. He'll be fine.
Now, here's the real plot twist, y'all, because, you know, like there's a lot going on in this story, and I know that's why Netflix wanted to make a documentary about it. But so when Michael Jackson, he decided that he had had enough. I just realized, for the purposes of this documentary, Michael Jackson's still alive. So let me rephrase this. He decided to leave Gaithersburg. He didn't die. He's still alive. And he said, I'm going to do something with this here Italian haunted restaurant. I'm going to give it to this child, Claire. Okay, so once again, I'm just trying to keep order in the town of Gaithersburg, and now I've got a child running a restaurant. And I mean, what am I supposed to do? And where's Billy Joel when you need him to put in some money, you know?
I am thousands of years old. I can run a restaurant. My birth certificate says that I was born in 1882. Okay, like that's plenty of time. I have the experience. So what? I look like I'm 15. So what?
Yeah, Claire's been around a while. She can run a restaurant, but apparently she can't count or do math.
I left my restaurant with two people I trusted enormously, Billy Joel and Claire, and I thought it was in good hands. It was not in good hands. And the worst thing is, a few weeks after I left, it burned to the ground, just burned completely down. And I think Billy Joel and Claire burned it down for the insurance money. That's what I think. I think Billy Joel and Claire started that fire.
You know, that was around the time that I was divorcing my 8th, maybe my 9th wife, and I was really hitting the sauce pretty hard. So I was hard for cash and really needed to settle that divorce, pay the rest of my alimony. Yeah, so you know what? I sold the deed to Arlo Guthrie, and then we got out of town.
David Byrne from the Talking Heads here. Look, I met Billy Joel. I ordered food at his past restaurant. It was terrible. It was undercooked. I said, will you light my fire? He said, I didn't start the fire. And then I burnt the whole thing down, started my own French eatery. It was great. Psycho Killer, who did it? It might have been me.
All right.
American Utopia on HBO.
Yeah, so I heard that the phrase psycho killer came up in context of all this, and so I want to be really transparent about something. I am under investigation for murdering my wife and kids. It's true, okay? They were sort of on the fence about letting me do this production, but as the mayor of Gaithersburg, I wanted to be out front ahead of this whole, you know, everything with Michael Jackson, having a restaurant and pulling children and rats and things. Who did start the fire? Did we start the fire? I don't know. Has it always been burning since the world has been turning? I mean, I think anyone could say.
You know, it might have been the mayor. It might have been Michael Jackson, but he's got the heart of a child, innocent as could be. And I would always say, you know, my famous line, if the glove fits, you must acquit.
And that's our show.
Yay.
That was Neon Salami, everyone. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Neon Salami. And with that, we have reached the end of Comedy is Calling. I want to thank all of the comics you saw tonight. We had stand-up from Jason Fliegle, Mark Palchick, Cy D, and our headliner, Lauren Smith, and we had improv from Neon Salami. I've been your host, Stacey Axler. We do Comedy is Calling on the first and third Sunday of every month and the second Friday of every month. You might be thinking in your mind right now, well, that means there's a show on this upcoming Friday, which is totally correct. You can tune in to see this show on the Facebook page, Stacey Axler Comedy, and you can also see it on YouTube after the show. So if you only got to see a few minutes of it this time, don't worry, because it's all going to be on YouTube. You can find it by searching Stacey Axler Comedy on YouTube. So there's options, everyone. There's options. This show would not be possible without the wonderful team at Capital Cider House. We miss Capital Cider House so much. If this was a Sunday, not in 2020, we would be at Capital Cider House right now doing a wonderful show. And you might be thinking, I miss Capital Cider House too. Well, you don't have to miss them per se, because you can, the microphone just fell out of my face. All right, but it's back. because you can order from Capital Cider House. They have a wonderful online store. You can get their cider delivered to your home. You can also drive by and pick up an order from Capital Cider House. All of that and more is available on their website, capitalciderhouse.com, and on their Facebook page. So definitely check them out. because it is far, far worth it. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this comedy show. We hope it brought you some laughs on a Sunday. So we will see you soon. Goodbye, everyone.